Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Roger Windsor, and I'm a part of a small group of individuals who've got an interest in the aviation aspects of Gower, the historical side, and particularly the time when this airfield was RAF Fairwood Common. A special welcome this afternoon to those people who served here in the 1940s. Mr. Les King, Mr. Eric Williams, Idris Edwards, Ted Solomon, and John Heyman. If there's anybody else who served here, please make their presence welcome now. They're very welcome, honoured guests. And you are?
Alan Richards.
Alan Richards. Oh, thank you, Alan. You're on my list.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Alan. Another special welcome to Squadron Leader Phil Davis. Phil is the officer commanding number 636 Volunteer Gliding School, which is based here at Fairwood Common. And these young men are currently going through a gliding stroke flying course within that school. Well, a couple of thanks now. First of all, I'd like to thank David Marshall, the airport manager, for giving us permission to provide a small plaque to commemorate the time that this airfield was in RAF control. People have tried to have memorials and other things, and it hasn't worked out, but we're lucky today with the permission of David Marshall. Very special thanks to David Marshall. As I say, I'm just a group of 5 individuals. I'd like to thank Bob, Yayan, Peter, Richard, and myself. We do recognise the role that this airfield played in the 1940s, and we do recognise the role that the personnel played here. It's never been historically documented, all the roles and various aspects of the airfield. If it was documented in one complete volume, it would be a very, very interesting story. It hasn't been done yet, unfortunately. So, a few months ago, we got together and we decided, well, just how could we allow this airfield to be recognised and the people to be honoured? And we thought the best way to do it was a small commemorative plaque. And that's what we're here today for, to unveil the plaque. A little bit about the airfield. The first squadron arrived here in 1941. The last squadron left in October 1946. What other people don't know is between that period, a total of 65 squadrons flew from this airfield. It's a record. Not very well documented, but it is a record, without a shadow of a doubt. There are also a number of other smaller flying units here, detachments and air sea rescue flights. And at one time we had the Swansea University Air Squadron based here. We also had number 70 gliding school based here, the forerunner to the present gliding school. If you think about the people that were here, one about the autumn to May of autumn 43 to May of 44, this airfield was at its absolute busiest. You had the Air Defence of Great Britain units here, you had the aircraft rotating through here from 83 Group and 84 Group. It was an extremely busy place, to such an extent that in excess of 2,400 people were based here. Now, that's a heck of a number. That makes it a pretty large village in Gower to have 2,400 people in it. We recognise the airfield and technical site, which is still in existence, but further across the road between Black Hills and Middle Calais and Upper Calais, we had the actual dispersed sites where you had the personnel, WAFs and what have you. This is the bit that fascinates me the most. The different variety of services that were up here, the different nationalities, and I've got to read these out verbatim, and if I've forgotten any nationality, I'm very sorry. Some of the personnel were obviously from the RAF, the Auxiliary Air Force, the WAFs, the ATS, the Air Training Corps, the British Army, NAFI, and other civilian organisations. And many ranks from aircraftman, second class, up to the highest ranking officer here was a group captain. And there were civilians here, of course, who kept the Air Training Corps gliders rigged and ready to fly. But what really fascinates me, the nations that were here, from the colonies, Newfoundland, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and the British Isles, Rhodesia, South Africa, other southern African nations, the USA, and from Europe, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Holland, Norway, Denmark, France, Belgium, even Sweden. They will not be forgotten. I've thanked my colleagues from the interest group. Thank you very much, everybody. And somewhere in the background there is Stephen Jones. Stephen wrote a wonderful book called Fallen Flyers. And in there, I think he set the seeds for us to come up with something that was worthwhile. Steve has also given me a lot of information how to obtain and get hold of all the permissions for mounting plaques, etc., etc. I also like to thank my friend Peter Lloyd, who's given me a lot of information about the period of time which has not been documented in this airfield from about 46 to 49. And that's been allowed me to come up with some dates. Philip Sillick's here somewhere. Thank you, Phil. You've given me some advice as well, which has helped us along, and thank you for the loan of the RAF ensign. Thank you indeed. And we've got John Osborne. John is the standard bearer for the RAFA Club, the Netley branch. So thank you, John, for turning up. Very smart you are 2 days. Well, there's one little thanks I can't leave out Charles Braithwaite. Charles is the manager of the Red Dragon Cafe. He's going to supply us with a little bit of grub afterwards, but I've got to thank Charles for his support right the way throughout this project. Very supportive indeed. Right, as you may be aware, April the 1st this year was the 90th anniversary of the formation of the Royal Air Force. I call it the Royal Air Force 90th birthday. I've been told I mustn't say that, but I've said it. What a lot of people forget, it was also the formation of the Women's Royal Air Force, 1st of April 1918. Over 70 years ago, a young man who's in my line of sight at the moment, Mr. John Heyman, in June 1937, was strapped into a homemade glider, not more than a few hundred yards from here, and he actually made the first flight from Fairwood Common. Well done, John. It's good to see you survive those flights and been able to turn up here today.
Excuse me, I was part of the power plant.
I've also been told that there were a few people who were conspirating to make sure that John was the first to go. I've been told the story, Alan. I've been told the story, John, and you can relate it if you want to in a minute. It's a wonderful story. Anyway, it's good to see that there's a link between gliding at Fairwood Common in 1937 and the present day, and it's good to see that 636 VGS is still carrying on the tradition of gliding from here. It's good to see aircraft with rondels taking off from here, and it's absolutely fantastic to see people in wonderful number 1 uniforms. Thank you, Phil. You've made our day. I'd now like to hand over to Phil, who's kindly agreed to unveil the plaque. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you, Roger. I'd just like to say, on behalf of the Royal Air Force, I'd like to thank Roger and the interest group for inviting me along today for this very honourable occasion, very memorable occasion to unveil this plaque on behalf of the Royal Air Force. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Okay. I do feel a little bit humble, really, standing here before such honoured guests and individuals who have certainly beat me to it when I started to fly, and they've beaten me by a few years, I should think. But there again, thank you again for turning up on behalf of the Royal Air Force. Just before I unveil the plaque, as Roger has revealed there are lots of different colourful characters that have passed through here during those tumultuous years in 1941 to 47, and it's as a result of their good work that we're here today to, and in peace and tranquility, so to speak, and having the day to ourselves. So we must remember that. Lots of different individual characters, of course, passed through here, and I think we're standing in the intelligence room, is it, Roger?
Roughly, I think it wasn't far from where the intelligence was gathered.
So lots of individuals have actually passed through this very spot on operations and maintenance tasks, admin tasks, you name it, they were there, as Roger just explained to us now. We mustn't forget that. And all those characters should be remembered. And every time I hope that we all pass this plaque, let's hope that we all just spare a thought of the individuals and the colourful characters indeed that passed through here on those years. So without any further ado, I'd like to do the honourable thing as I'm here and unveil the plaque on behalf of the Royal Air Force and certainly the interest group. We'll put this thing together. Okay?
Oh, yours.
Okay.
Thank you. Ooh. How's that? That's the best way. There we are. Just look at that. A terrible tree.
I brought the fair out, used to bring the plane out to fair every Sunday. Harry noticed was the pilot. Time after time, he was sitting along the ground, never got off. And then the boys said, Harry gave up. The boys said, we'll have a ride in it. So he took it into a little ride on the ground. And Aubrey Williams said to me, John, you've actually built this machine. Why don't we have a little ride? And I thought of a way to get it off the ground. And stretched the ropes out, let go. I pulled a step back and up I went. But I haven't thought then how to get it back down, so I crashed. A fortnight later we rebuilt it, took it back out to Fairwood, I took it up and I brought it down. Easy as that.
The weather factor here didn't help. It's got a poor, well, it still has a poorish weather factor. And they're operating when, things weren't really as they should be weather-wise. But they had the DREM lighting system, which is something totally forgotten now, but a wonderful idea. Around the airfield, I'm talking on Lannon, for instance, and Calais, that sort of distance, there'd be a circle of lights on poles around. Not many airfields had it, but a very, very nice system. And you see the circle of lights, bad weather, you see, and you turn right and follow them. And then there'd be a big illuminated sign, in this case SX. Great, we know where we are. And then when you came to the runway in use, there'd be a branch off, rather like a motorway turn off. And it was very easy in quite bad weather conditions to get in, because you followed this in, followed the lights, and then you'd see the threshold. And you didn't really need any aids at all. Well, there weren't any aids to need.
The first I knew of it, of course, was the Big Bang and the black smoke. And it seemed seconds, in which time the ambulance and the fire tender came through. Well, at the top of our yard, where the road bent, there was a telephone post, and the fire engine hit the telephone post, and all the wires came down in the road in front of where he was going to get to this plane. I was worried because I knew our animals were in a field down there. As a matter of fact, they were in the next field, and the plane crashed just the other side of the hedge. By the time I got there, the ammunition was going off along as the wings, I suppose, were heating up. So the ammunition was bang, 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 bang. The plane was facing in the direction that the fire engine would be coming from the roadway going down to the billets. Because they couldn't get any nearer. I don't know, I think they had to wait more or less until the plane burned out. But it was coming into land. I understand it came in a bit sharp, and the Beaufighters, if you throttled back, they had a tendency to spin in. And it was Flight Lieutenant Taylor, his name was, and he was in it on his own, and he just crashed in. A lot of willows and woodland rubbish next to our hedge, and that's where it landed.
Originally, you started at Penachurch, where they pull you along the ground a bit faster, a little faster, and you keep the wings level, then you bounced a little bit, and you did what you call a lower hop. up to about 10 feet. More often than not, about 20 feet, depending on the winch driver. And then when you finished, they brought you up to Fairwood, yeah, and they launched you off up to 100 feet plus, depending on the winch driver. And that's about it. And to say that we weren't frightened would be... So we're going out on it, Les.
More or less a soiled underpants now and again. Yes. No, it was very exciting. We must have been mad. At least.
The station commander caught me one day bringing a rugby kit back from the gym because I was going to play with my home team, Hendy, because I used to live at home, being I had a compassionate posting here. And he caught me bringing this kit down and he stopped me and he said, "Are those rugby kit?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Who are you playing for?" I said, "My home team, Hendy." He said, "You're going to play for the camp?" He said to me. Well, during the first 3 months, everything was fine, played with the camp, he was second ranking me, and came to the second 3 months, and I was posted overseas again. So I went to see him, and he got me off the draft. But during the second 3 months I was here, he took off from here to go to Gloucester, and he got killed on Stormy Down, and he was buried in Pennar Church here. So, you know, he was a wonderful man. He was only, I believe he was the youngest wing commander in the Air Force at the time. He was only 32.